Hi, good morning, everyone. Do you hear me? Anyone? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
All right, thank you. Okay, maybe before we start, I just need cooperation from everyone to change your username to your real name. Okay, so maybe you can change if you don't know the step. I can tell you right now. So please go to the participant icon and then click go to your current name, go to three dots and then select rename to change. So if you can do so, please. We will start shortly. So we just wait for a few participants to join us. Thanks to those who already done it to change your name to the real name. And also please ensure everyone is on the mute mode. If during the presentation it's too noisy from the background, I will mute all of you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Farida. I think we can start already.
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, Assalamualaikum. Good day and welcome, everyone. Hope everyone is doing great. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. So I introduce myself first. My name is Farida, a GIS training and marketing executive, and will be act as your host for today. We also have Miss Nurul as technical support. So today we are presenting on GIS and open source, introduction to QGIS, featuring our main speaker, Mr. Elias Mokori, a geospatial consultant at GIS Innovations Neighborhood. So before we proceed any further, I just would like to share a summary background of our speaker. So Mr. Elias Mokori had over 27 years experience in GIS consultancy with extensive experience in data manipulation, quality control, data analysis, data integration, ETL, desktop GIS, and customization. He also had an ability to develop crowdsourcing apps for volunteer geographic information system. Have worked across multiple industry in GIS implementation and certified in various GIS and ETL tools. Not forget to mention, he also had excellent communication skill and have experience dealing with top level executive in public and private sectors. So to those who is not familiar with ETL, acronym, actually it stands for extract, transform, and load. Basically, ETL is a type of data integration that refers to these three steps used to blend data from multiple sources. So for today's webinars, I will divide it into two sessions. The first 45 minutes, plus minus, is for our speaker to share his thought on the topic. And after that, we will conduct a short Q&A at the end of the session, about 15 minutes. So if you have any question during the presentation, please type them into the chat window and I will address them during the Q&A. So both Bahasa and English are welcome. Please don't hesitate to ask any question. Okay, so by the end of our time today, we hope you feel more comfortable and confident about how to kick off the GIS, the QGIS, especially for beginners and or anyone who's still new into the industry. So is it clear for anyone? I hope you are clear on it. So now, without further ado, I will turn the time over to our speaker. Let us all welcome Mr. Lias Macquarie, and please enjoy the session.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Farida, for this good introduction. As she said, my name is Lias. I've been here in Malaysia since 1995, so it's been a long time. And I'm very pleased to be talking about open source and QGIS. We are not going to talk too much about QGIS, but we are going to talk about geospatial and open source. This is a very light introduction on this subject. We will be talking about the history of open source, how it started, and how it has become today, right? So let me just change. So the agenda is what is open source. We're going to talk about a brief history note about open source. And something very important, sometimes we talk about the GNU or GNU, the GNU licensing. What is GNU actually? We are going to talk about GNU. That is the spark actually of open source. We are going to talk about operating systems. We have a very wide range of operating systems which are open source. Office suites and some other products as well in which are open source, free and open source. Okay, when we say free, generally free software does not mean that it is open source. But when you say open source, it is mainly free software. Sometimes people pay a little bit just for, let's say, to support them, is by donation, or to have support. They pay them extra money just for support. Okay. So we are going to talk about geospatial and open source. Where can we find the stuff? And then we're going to show something, just a few tricks on how to open how to install geospatial software. So I just want to show you what are the methods you can use. Then we are going to talk about QGIS. That is I'm going to spend just 5 minutes, but this is not much of a QGIS. We are going to have other webinars in the future, which, well, we are going to see a few capabilities of QGIS in more details. But for now, we are going to concentrate on open source in general. So in the slides, there will be a few links, but just to be fair, Farida will be putting the slides in the chat box, just if you guys want to take a look at where we took the text from and so on. All right. So other things, yeah, and please, if you have any questions, just put the questions in the chat box as well. It can be in English or in BM, it's okay. No issues. So what is open source? Open source software is a software with source code that anyone can inspect, modify, and enhance. Okay, so we got this from from opensource.com. So this software, if I create a software, any software, and I say it is open source, then I make the source code available for the people to modify, to enhance, to redistribute, etc. Right? Then some software has source code that only the person, team, or organization who created know or maintain it exclusively, meaning that it's proprietary. We say proprietary, and the users cannot modify the source or the codes. That is called closed source. Okay, that's the opposite of open source. Some of the products that you know, like Microsoft Windows, Microsoft Office, you have like Oracle database, DBMS, SQL Server. No, all these are all closed source, and they come with a price. But closed source can be also free. Yeah, there are some people who give the software for free. So is it open source or open source? The right spelling is, or either one. You can say open source with a space, open source with a dash. In the webinar title, I did a mistake. I put it, in one word, open source. That is not correct. So we will be doing the correction. But this is the right spelling. It doesn't have to be capital letters for each, but just open source or open dash source. Now, a brief history about computers, software, and how did open source start? In 1950s, early 1950s and 60s, the computers, the software, they used to come in with the hardware bundled together in one box. So people were not, it was like without a separate fee. For example, you buy a certain software to do some work. It comes with the hardware, so you cannot separate. That has been ongoing for a while, and during early 70s, AT&T started to distribute early versions of Unix. Unix is an operating system, a very stable, powerful operating system. So they have been providing this operating system to government and academic researchers at no cost, free of charge. But they did not have the right to modify or redistribute the software. They were not able to do that. So it has been ongoing until early 80s, where AT&T stopped the free distribution of Unix, and they started to charge people patches, meaning that it wasn't free. They had to pay some, like a maintenance fee if you want. So it was quite difficult for people then to continue their research because they had to pay for the operating system. So more information about what I'm saying is available on the Wikipedia, and the links, as I said, will be shared inside the chat box. This guy, Richard Stallman, he is the guy behind open source. He's the spark for open source. So what he is the one who was so fed up that he couldn't do any more work because he had to pay for the licensing that he decided to create. Okay, his name is Richard Stallman, or Richard Matthew Stallman, aka RMS. They call him RMS. Okay. He was concerned that he could no longer study or further modify programs. So he founded the GNU project. Okay, what is GNU? We are going to talk about that shortly. So GNU project started in 1983, all right? So in 1983, so people would share, and then they would be able to have let's say it's for people to share the software and have free computer software in general. So what is GNU? GNU is what they call, it's a recursive acronym, meaning that you have G and U, which is GNU, but it means that the G is for GNU itself, and not, or is not, and U is for Unix. So GNU means GNU is not Unix, right? We call that a recursive acronym, right? So the GNU project is a free software mass collaboration project. So announced by RMS on September 27, 1983. Its goal is to give, or was to give, computer user freedom and control in the use of the computers and computing devices by collaboratively developing and publishing software that gives everyone the right to freely run the software, copy and distribute it. So meaning that this is when they would give the GNU software license agreement, or just a license agreement that allow you to share, redistribute, and modify the software. So this is the spark. This is when open source started. So this is just, you have seen this many times, I guess. They say my software comes with GNU General Public License, or they just call it GPL. They don't add GNU. So it's a series of widely used free software licenses that guarantee end users the 4 freedoms to run. So that is first freedom. Second is study. Third, share. And fourth, modify the software. So the license was the first copy left. See, we have copyright, correct? So this is my software. I have copyrights, but this one is called copy left. Okay. So for general use, and was originally written by the founder of the Free Software Foundation. I think I should perhaps, yeah, that's much better. That's a nice word. I like it. We are all copylefters. So people can just modify, share, you know, the software, and it's free. Usually, most of the time, it's free. So let's talk about operating systems. In this page in Wikipedia, it shows us a list of Linux distributions. Actually, I don't want to get too much in details in Linux. So the first version of Linux was created by some guy by the name of Linus. Linus, but perhaps you can do some another short webinar about that. But you can see that this is all the list of most popular operating systems, which are Linux based. Majority of these Linux are free. Some of them are free, but you have to pay for support if you want to. But my favorites, personal favorites, is I've used a lot of Ubuntu, and I started using Mint Linux, which I like quite much, because Mint, when you move from Windows to Linux, you can see a certain similarity in the way you move around. So I quite like Mint, but Ubuntu is very good as well. There are other operating systems, of course, like Red Hat, which was available for many, many years before that. So Linux has different distributions. Some distributions can be have different purposes as well. There are some distributions which are used for database. Some they are used for for gaming. Others are used for, let's say, network testing. So it depends. And others, of course, they are general for general use. And they have a lot of light versions of Linux that run in low-end PCs very well. As example, there is one called Lubuntu. It's Ubuntu, but you know, they took off many things that are not needed, so it's called Lubuntu. I used that for, you know, during MCO when people needed a computer. So my daughter, we didn't have, I had a slow machine, a slow notebook. So I just installed Lubuntu, and it worked well for her. All right, so Linux is quite good. It's very stable, and it is most of the time free. All right, let's move to the next slide. And by the way, you have seen this GIF, moving image. I used a screen recorder, which is open source, called Screen to GIF or Screen to GIF. It doesn't matter how you pronounce it. So it's to record your screen and then you export it to as a GIF image and or GIF image. So just to say that you have most of the things that you want to do, if you need some tools, there's always an open source alternative. So in short, almost 40 years later, since the GNU project started, we have an open source alternative to proprietary or commercial software. So whenever you have a commercial software, there is, well, definitely there is an open source version of it. It can be better than commercial. It can be not as good as the commercial version, but it depends also on the projects. They call them projects. If the project is very, if you have a lot of people maintaining the projects, then it's good. Otherwise, many projects have been abandoned and then merged into other projects. So, for example, Office suites, you have Apache Open Office. It used to be called Open Office before Oracle bought over the project. K-Office, I'm not very familiar with it. And you have LibreOffice, which is more and more used by many people. Some of the Linux installations come with LibreOffice. And just to tell you, I'm using Microsoft Office for this. I'm using PowerPoint for the presentation, which is commercial version. But I was testing out LibreOffice, the presentation software. It is, they have improved a lot. And I'm not surprised that I would be, next presentations will be using LibreOffice instead of Microsoft Office. I like Microsoft Office. I've been using Microsoft Office since version 2. That is a long time ago. That was WinWord 2. Since then, I haven't stopped using it. And well, let's see how the next presentation will be done. All right. For graphic suites, for example, what you have is you have Inkscape. Inkscape is used for vector editing, and then you can export your drawings or your results in SVG. For raster and image editing, you have GIMP. GIMP is part of the GNU project, so it's for image editing. And then for 3D vector and models editing, you have Blender, which can do a lot of 3D work. And it is a very powerful, very easy software to use, and you can do a lot of things that SketchUp can do. All right, they have a plug-in which does exactly what SketchUp can do, like pushing walls, creating holes, 3D models, and so on. So this is a very good product to look at if you are doing 3D models. DBMS database. Everybody has, especially those who are doing web development, they have used MySQL. MySQL was bought over by Oracle, and it's not very, well, it is open source still, but sometimes people are scared. They say, I'm going to spend so much time, so much money doing my work with MySQL, and then tomorrow Oracle will say it's not free anymore. So they will, some people are a bit, they are taking their distances from MySQL. So the people who are creating MySQL, they created a new project called MariaDB. So MariaDB is basically more or less like MySQL. I don't know what is the differences, but I know that MariaDB file or MySQL files can be used in MariaDB, if not mistaken, the databases. But my favorite is this elephant, Postgres. Postgres, I like it very much because it's very easy to install. It's, of course, open source, and it has a geospatial is that a plug-in they call it? Yeah, plug-in called or add-on called PostGIS, where you can save your data seamlessly. For web work, you have Apache Server or Apache Tomcat. These two, I would say, for web server, Apache is the most widely used web server. You have FileZilla. FileZilla is for FTP, to transfer data and download data to a web server. And you have also PHP, which is a programming language. This is just, this is a drop in the ocean. We cannot give you all the information, but all the open source software that are available. But this is just to tell you what has been around. And yeah, I will give the remark later. I have a remark that I want to make. I'll do it later. All right, so this is for web work. For programming, everybody knows Python. Most of the commercial software are using Python. For people who want to customize and or further do how do you call to process that data, or to just for any kind of work. And you have PHP, of course, which is for web programming. Other open source software, everybody knows VLC Media Player. VLC Media Player is for video streaming and more. Okay, and Notepad++, which is very powerful. It's like Notepad, but you can do scripting or programming with it. And one good thing is that when you have a huge set of data, text file or ASCII, you can open it using Notepad++. So speaking of open source, then, there are some platforms that were developed using PHP, and they are open source as well. So you have like a simple machines, SMF or PHP-BB, which are forum software. You have WordPress as well. For e-commerce, you have like OpenCart or Magento. So these are some of the platforms that were created using using PHP, and they are open source. These are development environment installers. They are free. So you have, for example, XAMPP and WAMP server. XAMPP is the most popular because they have a lot of plugins. So it allows you to install at the same time. If you want to do some testing, programming, we'll install PHP, MySQL, but I think now it has been changed to MariaDB. It would be installing Apache. So a few things. So it would get your environment ready. You don't have to do much configuration. Last time it was a pain to configure all these things one by one, but I'm talking about like 10 years ago or 15 years ago. WAMP is more or less the same thing like XAMPP, but XAMPP has Perl as well, but WAMP server does not have Perl. This is one of the differences, and WAMP has less plugins than XAMPP. So far, as I know, XAMPP is the most popular around for development environment installers. Since then, other concepts have emerged, like Wikipedia. So Wikipedia, this is taken from the Britannica, okay? So they say Wikipedia was started in 2001, so it's the same thing, same concept as open source, where people just choose data and, they would just fill up information and, this is huge, as you know. Wikipedia, whenever you search for something, most of the time, the first search result comes from Wikipedia when you search for a word, right? I'm talking about Google search, because they have open source search engines as well, but we won't talk about that this time. So the list is huge. You can find a more comprehensive list of open source, but this page has open source and free software. So you have to look, you have to filter the information. So in this Wikipedia page, they give you the list of software that is available freely or open source. I think the link is being added into the chat box. Thank you. So before we talk about geospatial, now we are going to to go deeper into geospatial. Sorry, when we talk about all these open source software, many commercial software, they embed open source into their products, okay? But of course, before they do that, they would ask permission from the project people, whoever is creating the project, or perhaps they give them fundings to what do you call to maintain the open source project. But there are a lot of, you have seen that many software are using Python, right? So they modify it a bit and then you give it a name, their own name, something Pi, for example. So I won't get into the details. Now, what about geospatial open source? So we are all, or most of us are in geospatial industry. And the center, I would say, from my experience, the place where you can find everything about open source and geospatial is the OSGeo website. Okay, so the OSGeo Foundation, they give you details about all existing open source products, of course, related to geospatial. So this is their website, the Open Source Geospatial Foundation. You can donate if you want. I'll just go to the next slide to explain to you what they have and what they don't. So in here, they will give you the list of all the existing open source software that are being currently maintained. This is just the ones that are featured. Believe me, they have a list there where you have a lot of products that you have never heard about. And yeah, so it is a good thing to go there and take a look at the information that is available. So let's talk about the software installation. Let's say you have an issue, you want to solve something, and somebody told you, hey, why don't you use QGIS software? It's a desktop software. It's a very good software. All right. So you have two ways to have the software installed. One is the OSGeo Live. The OSGeo Live, we are going to talk about it shortly, and then the OSGeo4W. All those projects, they have their own installers. So you can use those independent installers to install just one software, but you can use this method to install the software as well. There's no right or wrong, so it's up to the person to do that. But I like the OSGeo Live. The OSGeo Live, what is it? The OSGeo Live is a self-contained bootable DVD, or well, we don't use DVD anymore, or not many people use DVD, or USB thumb drive or virtual machine based on Ubuntu. So I spoke earlier about Ubuntu. Ubuntu is a light version of Ubuntu. So what happens is that sometimes people want to test some software, but they don't want to install it. So this is a good way to to test out software. You just you download the OSGeo Live, and then you just put it in a thumb drive. You put the thumb drive, and then you restart your machine, and then it will restart Ubuntu, and yeah. So it's as simple as that. So this is the interface. You are going to have all kinds of tools, and then you have geospatial. Inside geospatial, you have different products, databases. Like here, you have desktop GIS. Inside this desktop GIS, you have GRASS GIS, OpenJump, QGIS desktop, and Saga GIS. We are going to talk later on about this GRASS and Saga GIS. Okay. So LiveGeo, or the CD, or the latest container or installer, they have all these software included. So they have desktop, browser, web services, etc., etc. So in the desktop, they have like GRASS GIS, QGIS, OpenJump, Saga, and UDIG. Then you have browser facings, like just to view the data on the internet, on the browser, sorry. So this is the list. What else? Web services, you have degree, GeoNetwork. GeoNetwork is a metadata cataloging platform. Okay, I know that some people are using that. GeoServer is to serve your data, so to serve the data to be viewed on open layers, or can view your data in QGIS or any desktop software. So this is using, usually they use WMS, WFS, and some other web protocols as well. What else is to mention here? You have also QGIS server. QGIS server is something very powerful as well. It's basically when you create a project in QGIS, and then you can quickly convert that as a web service. Okay. PostGIS, I spoke about PostGIS. So this is a database for you to, sorry, it's an add-on to Postgres to be able to save your data seamlessly in in a database. PG routing is for routing. Spatialite is very popular. Many software are using that, but I think it's being changed with something else. I'm not really sure about that. Marble is something like Google Earth. OpenStreet, you know OpenStreet. OpenStreet is data or maps which are created, which are shared. They have a shared content. I want to talk about Mapnik. Mapnik is a very good, I'll say, a library, if you want, that allows you to convert your data into maps. Okay. Domain-specific GIS data, you have natural Earth. Sorry, XY Grip is for weather forecast maps. And okay, this is something very, very important and very good. The PROJ, P-R-O-J project, that is where they maintain coordinate systems. Okay, so you can use the PROJ database to read and write data and convert them in different coordinate systems. I know some commercial software using PROJ as well. OGC, they are the consortium for the Open Geospatial Consortium to maintain standards for data, and Inspire is to maintain the infrastructure data standards for Europe. Okay. Now, let's talk about OSGeo4W. What is that? OSGeo4W is a software that you use to download other software. So you can download this from osgeo.org, and from there, once you have it installed, as actually more like decompressed on your machine, you can use the Express install or the advanced install, as you can see. So when you double click on the setup file, you have this dialog box. If you have the Express install, you just download that from some specific websites. Then it would ask you, what do you want to install? This is, let's say, just want to have an Express install of QGIS with GDAL and GRASS. But if you use the install from internet, and then you use instead you use the what do you call the advanced install. So what's going to happen is that ask you, where do you want to install the software? So you are going to have a repository on your website, on your desktop, and from there it will ask you to install the software that you want to install. And then I have this recording. This shows you, okay, this one I did not, I've been using this for a long time. I did not remove the the mirrors or the website that are no longer supported by the OSGeo 4W. So these are not error messages, just saying that those servers no longer exist. So from there, it will show me the list of anything I need to install, and this is huge. A lot of things that you can do, a lot of software, can be desktop, just libraries, or web-based. The list is really extensive. What I like about this is that, let's say if I want to install QGIS desktop, for example, what it will do is it will install QGIS, but later on, if I want to remove QGIS desktop, I can use this to remove it. Okay, so it's just like something like a stack installer if you want to. It helps to know what you have installed and remove what you don't need if you want to do that. And you can see that this is a really big list of products that you can install. So if you want QGIS, you just type on the search, just type QGIS, and then you come up with anything related to QGIS. Okay, so this is miscellaneous. These are libraries. You can install Apache if you want, PHP as well. Map server. This is for web, map server, QGIS server. I'm not sure about GeoServer. I don't think GeoServer is in the list. Okay. All right. So that's about it for this. As you can see, it's very easy to install. You don't have to do much. Okay. Now let's talk about. Sorry. What is this number? Okay. QGIS itself. QGIS has been around for quite a while. It used to be called Quantum GIS. So it is being developed by several people. They have a huge team of people developing the software. They have option for support, but usually everything goes through forum websites like Stack Overflow. People ask questions there. And QGIS is getting more and more powerful version by version. So it's easy to use. There is no limit on the number of licenses you can have at your office. And yeah, it's free, basically. But what I like in it is when it comes to processing. So this is the team. The team, this is from their website. The interesting thing is that you can also search for the QGIS dashboard. The QGIS dashboard, it tells you in, let me check the next slide. Yeah, QGIS analytics dashboard. I don't have the link. You just search QGIS analytics dashboard, then you can find the page. So as of 12 November 2022, they say total number of QGIS opens in last 30 days is about 13 million, meaning that for the last 13 days, the software has been opened 13 million times. Then total number of opens in the current month, meaning that during November until 12 November is 5 million. And the day before, meaning on the 11th of November, there were about close to 500,000 of times that QGIS was open. This data, but they say the data sometimes because people are sharing the same IP address, so sometimes these numbers are not really 100% reliable because it's definitely more than that. I'm going to just show a very short demo about what QGIS can do. Just a very, very simple, just to show you the interface. And next webinars, we are going to have more detailed webinars, which are extracted from our current training material. So just sharing a very few modules. Okay, let me just just a second. All right, good. So for example, this is okay. So this is the map. I use OpenStreetMap. This is like elevation levels for Klang Valley, something I was playing with for for floods, to study the floods and all. Don't look at it as something like this is just some testing grounds. Okay, so for example, what I can do is I can add any sorts of data vectors. Let me just bring this here. So I have, if I look at vectors, files, and I look at the list of files, there's a very extensive number of formats that can be used. Okay. They even have AutoCAD, the DWG as well, DXF. This is a very extensive number of formats. Now you can even open Excel directly. Of course, you can open geodatabase, which is Esri format, Esri personal geodatabase, Esri shapefile, Esri JSON as well. Okay. GPX, any kind of formats, ASCII as well, ARCINFO for ASCII for, they have ARCINFO for coverage if you're still using E00 format. But what I want to show you is, for example, here I've added here traffic. If you have a license for here traffic, so I have added that. You can see here, this is the live traffic. I can just remove the OpenStreet so you can see clearly. So this shows the traffic where you have where it's congested, where it's not. Okay. Right. So I superimpose with the OpenStreetMaps. Something else that I've I want to show you also the processing tools. I just click on tools. So here, for example, if I look for, these are tools. The green ones are for QGIS tools, and then you even have GDAL tools, GRASS tools, Saga tools. Okay, so all these are processing tools. So if I want to do something like intersect, for example, I just type in intersect. So all these are all the tools that use the intersection. So, for example, you have clipping, well, it's classified as intersection. You have intersection, line intersection. So if I put build, okay, area builder should be polygon. So anything related to polygon. So just, for example, polygonize is to build polygons. Let me bring in here, you can just choose your layer. I don't have any polygons here, so otherwise you can choose the layers and then you can just polygonize your data. And this is very fast. I tested this compared with other transformation tools. This is pretty good, pretty fast. So, and it's free. So I have nothing to complain about. Other things that I need to add to talk about, they also have a graphic builder. So graphic builder is more something like, like FME. Okay, so they have workflow, or even they have like the model builder from in ArcGIS. I don't know if they still have that. So this is the same thing, the same concept. Okay, let me check model. Then you can just open your model. Oh, I have a model here. Okay, let me see how it looks like. Okay, it's empty actually. Sorry. So I will just close this because this is not the purpose of this demo. I've shown you the data, and something else which is very good. You have the plugins. So what is a plugin? Plugin is something extra. Okay. So the plugins, For example, I'm looking for something related to web. I just put here web. And then, okay, I have web. What do I have for web? So all these have the word web in it. But just want to show you something very interesting. I will show you shortly. They have this called create web map, meaning you can convert this map to web. All right. Update preview. So this is just like this is the result. It will ask me if I wanted to add more data into it. Let me just switch on. Yeah. So for example, I will just add this. Let me see if I can do that again. So I have on the layer and update preview. Sometimes if the data is big, I prefer to turn off the preview. Okay. Let's look at it later. I wanted to show you something else that I've done. This is, for example, a heat map. This is for one of the students. Last time they were asking me how can I show. They have data from some e-commerce company. They wanted to open a new warehouse, but they were not sure where to open the warehouse. So of course the data was all messed up, and also I just wanted to explain to them. I created this spatial data, and obviously you can see that most of the clients are here or in this area. So for example, like in these two areas, there's a gap. So you know they can have, for example, they can have their warehouse somewhere here, so they can go both on this area and this area, or they can have, you know, wherever they have a gap where the property price is cheap, where they can purchase. So this is just one of the examples that I wanted to show about QGIS. Okay, of course, it didn't come like this. The data was given in certain formats, so we had to manipulate the data and so on. Let me go back to the other one. Let's see. Okay, the data is huge, so that wasn't the right example to show you. Perhaps in one of the other sessions, I will get a better example and show you how to create web maps. Maybe you can do that in another webinar. So for now, let me go back to my slides. Okay. Okay, that's all what I have for now. I went 6 minutes over time. I would like to thank you all for coming. This is a really great number that we have. We have about 47 attendees. Okay, our next webinar will be on 29th of November. We are going to advertise on MyGIS as well. So yeah, please do. I hope that you enjoyed this webinar and that it was simple enough, clear enough. This is just a drop in the ocean of open source. It's really a lot of things that we have available that we can use. And QGIS is really a very good product. We are not selling QGIS, obviously, because nobody can buy it. And yeah, so please do ask questions on MyGIS if you have any questions about QGIS. And we hope that you have enjoyed this webinar and come back for our next webinar. For now, I'll let Farida handle the rest and check if you have any questions. All right, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for sharing your professional knowledge and expertise, Mr. Elias. So now we move to Q&A session. So I can see we have few questions in the chat box. So I just read it for us. and let Mr. Lias answer it. So first question actually come from Miss Zurina. She just asked whether boleh dapatkan this rakaman for this webinar. Actually, we will put our recorded webinar on our official website later. So maybe you can check via the link I provided just now. And then I also can see the question from Mr. Faisal, I think. He asked about what is your PC spec, Mr. Ilyas, during you use.
Okay, that's a good question. Sekejap, let me give you my specs. My PC is sorry. Okay. My PC is
Sorry.
what do I have? It's just an i5. I have 32 gig RAM, and I have about sorry, i7. What am I talking about? So I have it's an i7 2.7 gigahertz. 32 gig RAM. That's what it's an HP notebook, but to use QGIS, you don't really need something very powerful. You have to look at what kind of data you are going to what kind of data you are going to process. If your data, you are going to do a lot of complex processing like LiDAR and also, this is definitely the wrong machine. You need to buy a good desktop that has a very good GPU. So you need to spend on the GPU especially, right? So GPU, a good one, you can get, I think it's better to build your own machine rather than buying something like off the shelf, macam Dell or HP. So you just go to places like Lawiat or all those centers, and then just tell what are your specs, you compare the price, and then they will give you definitely something original. But most important is very good GPU, a lot of RAM, and a good processor. Processor now for what is it, Gen 9 or Generation 9, I think, or 10, I think, I can't remember. So you just get, especially the CPU, get the best that you can afford. Sometimes the latest, the most powerful is very expensive. So you can go one step down. So that is more than enough. You have to look also at the ports. Always, if you are using geospatial, always use 2 monitors if you can afford. So one is to chat with your friends and the other one is to do the work, of course. Yeah. So the other questions, we have quite a number of questions now. What's the next questions that we have?
Okay, next question actually come from Mr. Khairul Ibrahim. So he asked about how we can convert JSON format to shapefile in QGIS.
Sorry, what was the question again?
How we can convert JSON format to shapefile in QGIS.
Oh, okay, it's very simple. So if I let me just share again my PC, my view, 1 second. Share. Okay. All right. So if I have okay. Oh, by the way, this is now the web page, so it's available. I'm going to close it before it does the crash QGIS, and then everybody will say it's not good. So what you do is first, let's say you open your data, the JSON file or GeoJSON, right? So if it's a GeoJSON, it's a file, and then you click here. Look at the GeoJSON. I'm not sure GeoJSON, there are quite a lot. Like just now we have seen Esri GeoJSON. So there is GeoJSON, let's say this format. I'll just click on this. I don't have a GeoJSON file here. So let's say you once you open the GeoJSON file, and then you add it here into the into the layer list. It doesn't matter what kind of data you have. So now you want to export it back to shapefile. what you do is, let's imagine that this is a GeoJSON file. Okay. For this one, let's say there are points. So I just right click and then I click on export and then save features as, and you should be able to have Esri shapefile. Yeah. So you have Esri shapefile or you have any other formats that you want. But let's say this is Esri shapefile. And then you put the file name wherever you want to save it. And then that's about it. Very simple. Thanks for the question.
Okay, next, Mr. Elias, we have a question from Miss or Mr. Fed, sorry, I don't know. He or she asks, what is your actual projection for QGIS?
You mean what's going to happen in the future? Is that what you mean for QGIS? Fed, can you answer? Is it what is your next? What's going to happen in the future? Okay, if your question is what is, or is it the projection that I'm using? Okay, never mind. I will answer the two questions. In terms of coordinate system, I'm using WGS84. If that is what you're asking. So I project on the fly everything to WGS84, okay? And then because most of the data that we have, they're all in WGS84 anyway, decimal degree. Now, if you ask, okay, there's something here, what I meant. Oh, CRS, okay, okay. So yeah, the CRS is the one I use is usually WGS84. Why do I do that? Because I'm just showing, I'm just displaying the data. I'm not doing like surveying work or you know. But if we look at the list of CRS view project, that should be. Okay, no man. I'll just take it from here. They have also a very extensive list of CRS coordinate systems. So here, for example, I can just type Malaysia. So they have like RSO, BRSO, GTM 2000. But you also have Kartao if you want to, I think, Kartao. Yeah, Kartao or Timbalai as well. Timbalai, okay, so Timbalai 1948 is there as well. Okay. And here it shows you the extents of the coordinate system. All right. So next question.
Okay, Mr. Elias, we have another question from Mr. Ashraf. So he asks, do you know any good deep learning library for building the footprint extraction in QGIS? So he just mentioned he used some in ArcGIS, but would love to try in another software.
To tell you the truth, I've never used that, but when it comes to this is related to AI as well. But I will just I will take note of it. I will take note of it, and I will see if can you send me an email? You have my email address. I just send to sales@gis.fm. I will look into it. So basically, is to try to extract the footprint of the buildings automatically. Because when it comes to deep learning, is also like AI, right? Let me just check and see if there is anything, and I will get back to you. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Elias. Next question is from Mr. Shahar Pauzi. Which open source are best for developing web server with QGIS?
From my experience, okay, I'm going to be. I like GeoServer myself. I like GeoServer. I find it easy to use, and you have tools to send your layers from QGIS to GeoServer. That includes the styling. So usually what we do is let me just tell you what's the name of the plugin. So because usually people are worried about the styling. Hang on. Just one moment. Installed. Oh, this one, GeoCat. You look at the GeoCat plugin. So that helps you to send your data into, yeah. So you can do like a SLD. Okay. I know that it supports GeoServer. I'm not sure if you're using Map Server. Can you repeat the question again, just to make sure?
Okay.
So this.
Sorry. The question, is it from Mr. Sahar?
Yeah, just now.
Which open source are best for developing web server with QGIS?
Yeah, okay. So you have to look at there are three layers basically. You have the desktop version, you're talking about QGIS, and then you have a place where you need to, it depends, where you need to store or to, you need to serve your layers through the specific protocols, web services, sorry. So I use GeoServer, but then comes the time where you need to display your maps and do the programming. So when you do the programming, usually people, what they will use, they would mix PHP and JavaScript, right? There are a lot of when it comes to display your maps on the web. The most popular, you have either open layers or leaflet. Personally, I prefer leaflet, but that is my choice because I cannot argue with the people who are using open layers. Open layers is also very good. Okay. I hope this answers your question. What's the next question?
Okay, I think we have another two questions from Tuan Adnan. So can you explain why PGIS22 cannot be contacted with a server after successfully installed?
Okay, well, this is okay, PGIS22. That can be because your port is blocked by the firewall. So what you do, just turn off the firewalls first. And then if it works, then you need to allow the port. So the port used is 5432 for Postgres. Otherwise, it should be okay because when you install Postgres, it will automatically put all those ports will be whitelisted in the firewalls. Besides that, it can be also because you have two applications using the same port, maybe 5432, two different applications. So there is a conflict, and that is why you may not be able to access your database. And then you have to look also at your database. Postgres, is it running or not? If the database is not running, then you cannot connect also to your using PGAdmin. So these are out of the box, the troubleshooting guides, if you want, that I can provide you. I would look at that first, and then, yeah. Otherwise, if you have not done anything with the database, just uninstall everything, reboot your machine, reinstall back, reboot the machine. So just remember this kind of software, very powerful software, which is server-based, it's best to restart the server after the installation. That's from my experience. I hope this answers your question. Okay, any other questions?
Okay, I think this one, the last question come from Mr. Faisal. So what is the most popular geodata format to be used for web application, JSON, KML, or etc.?
Okay. GeoJSON is a lightweight format, it's supposed to be lightweight. Usually people use GeoJSON if the data is small, all right? But when it comes to bigger data, in my humble opinion, we talk about the open source environment. We are not talking about some other commercial environment. Okay, I will use PostGIS and put the data there because PostGIS will know how to distribute back the data. So I would put PostGIS, GeoServer, and then my web application. Yeah, so that will definitely be a better choice. Okay, does it answer your question?
Sorry, Mr. Elias, we have another one. I think
problem.
must be this one is the last one. So in your opinion, this question comes from Ms. Amira. In your opinion, which one more better in processing, either using ArcGIS or QGIS?
Sorry?
In your opinion, which one more better in processing, either using ArcGIS or QGIS?
That is the $1 million question. As I always say, when people come to me about this, I say I respect Esri for all what they have given to the geospatial community. They have done a lot, and so did some other commercial products. I don't have ArcGIS installed. I don't even have, I used to be a certified ArcGIS trainer and so on, but I don't use ArcGIS anymore for my work. For my work, I use QGIS and FME. That's all, right? So these two products. So to compare apple to apple, you know, it's like comparing a green apple with a red apple. The taste is different. I will suggest to you, since QGIS is free, to test, to benchmark the two and see how which one is the fastest. I have used QGIS to process some stuff, which was very fast. I was happy with the results. To say that ArcGIS has flaws, I would say no. That is unfair to say that. But if I don't have anything, I would suggest to go for QGIS. If you have both and you're on a production environment, you have to test it yourself. For example, like you want to do clipping, you have 2.5 million lots that you want to clip on daily basis, and you do that with ArcGIS. You see how long it takes. It takes 10 minutes. Then QGIS, it takes what? 9 minutes, 59 seconds. Well, it's not worth really to go for QGIS just for a second difference. But so you have to look at if it's like, you know, using the word ArcGIS to process, it takes 10 minutes. Using ArcGIS, it takes 2 minutes. And then, of course, you, from now on, process your data with QGIS. But from time to time, you have to check. So to compare this product versus the other, I think I'm not really the one who's supposed to tell. It's up to you to try to benchmark the two processes, and then you look at how the data is being processed. Most importantly, because if you say that QGIS is faster than ArcGIS, well, it takes 2 minutes to process and ArcGIS 15 minutes, but what about the results, the quality of the results? That's the most important thing. If the quality is the same, then use QGIS. If the quality is not good, then you have to go for ArcGIS. So there are a lot of factors that you have to take in consideration. In my opinion, yeah, there's both. But when it comes to creating maps and doing day-to-day editing, if you cannot afford to buy 25 license of ArcGIS, just buy 2 or 3 ArcGIS, and then the rest of the staff will be using QGIS, because at the end of the day, when it comes to editing the lines, deleting the lines, adding points, because it's the same process, it's the same thing. Yeah, so that's the answer I want to give.
Okay, I think well, that's all we have got you here for today, and thank you for Mr. Elias for all the explanation and description related to the related topic. As I mentioned earlier, we will put the recorded webinar on our official website too. I think it's time for us for group Wi-Fi. If you don't mind, kindly turn on your video. We can have a group photo for a while.
Yeah, if you don't mind, please switch on your videos to do a group photo. That would be great. I would be very grateful. Okay, please switch on if you don't mind. We are all from the same geospatial family, right? Okay, I give you one minute. I give you 1 minute, and then we just take pictures of whoever wants to take pictures. But I'm thankful for you all for coming and attending this this first webinar, and inshallah we will be doing more webinars, not only on this but some other products as well. And yeah, okay, just wait another 30 seconds if you don't mind. We will be putting the picture, the screenshot on my GIS group. Okay, so we'll be doing that shortly. All right. Okay, yeah?
Okay, everyone, okay?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, before we sign off, I love to tell you, if you or your organization looking for any in-house or online training related to QGIS or FME, so just feel free to reach out to me via email as shared earlier by Mr. Elias.
Okay, thank you
so
very much,
thanks
everybody.
again for joining us today, and I am Ms. Farida. Yeah, see you again next time. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. Khairul, Tuan Adnan, Ashraf, Miss Atika. Thank you. See you again. Yeah, thank you. Welcome. Thanks, Jennifer.